Hey you! I know you're all about leveling up your TikTok game, so that's exactly what we're doing today. A deep dive into some of the most important TikTok trends from the SocialWick podcast. We're going to break them down and show you how to use them. For your own TikTok success, of course. That latest episode was hosted by host N1 and host N2.
Yeah, they really know their stuff when it comes to TikTok strategy.
Right. They always bring those data-driven insights.
Definitely. One of the first things they jumped into was the power of challenges. And sounds, of course.
Challenges are huge on TikTok, aren't they? It feels like a new one pops up every single day.
Well, they talked about how important it is to pick the right trends, not just hop on anything because it's trending. They specifically mentioned the Glow Up 2024 challenge.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Hmm.
Why do you think that one's working so well?
It just taps into that whole self-improvement thing that everybody's into these days. It's visual, it's easy to copy and share.
Makes sense. Plus, it fits perfectly for creators in those, like, beauty, fitness, self-improvement niches.
Totally. They actually gave an example of a fitness creator who used that challenge to show off their 30-day transformation program.
Ooh, I like that.
And they got tons of new followers, engagement went way up, and they even got a bunch of new clients from it.
Wow. That's impressive. All right, now let's talk sound, because that can be just as crucial as the visuals on TikTok.
Right? Oh, absolutely. Sound can really amplify your reach.
Yeah. Did they talk about specific sounds?
They did. The algorithm really seems to prioritize videos using trending sounds because it sees those as more relevant and engaging. So it's more likely to show them to a bigger audience. They mentioned how Olivia Rodrigo's new album is super popular right now.
It's everywhere.
Right. And they said remixes of 90s music are having a moment too.
Yeah.
Oh, and they also gave this great tip about checking TikTok's Creator Center for trending sounds.
That's smart, so you don't have to guess. What do you think are some of the keys to using those trending sounds effectively? Besides just jumping on the trend, I mean.
I'd say the sound needs to match the mood of your video. Don't just force it in there because it's popular. It has to feel authentic to your content.
Yeah.
And think about how you can use the sound to make your content unique. Can you do a skit or a cool transition? There's so many possibilities. Just be creative.
Yeah. It's all about making it your own. Now, switching gears to visuals, what about those aesthetic edits they talked about?
Oh, I love those. It's
Yeah.
amazing what you can do on your phone these days.
Right.
Hypersaturated colors, dreamy transitions. It's all so cool. The vintage glow filter is huge right now.
That one's really pretty. And it
Yeah.
goes with that whole retro vibe. They also talked about how you don't need fancy equipment for those edits, right?
Yeah, they emphasize that a lot. They said, creativity trumps expensive gear every time.
I like that.
A lot of those edits you can do with free apps.
Are there any you recommend?
I really like CapCut and InShot. Both free, and they have a ton of features.
Okay, I'm adding those to my list.
Yeah.
Now, something I think people often miss, niche communities. The SocialWick hosts called them a goldmine for spotting trends.
They are.
Like little trend incubators.
Think about hashtag BookTalk, hashtag PlantTalk, hashtag CottageCore.
I've seen some great stuff from those.
Yeah.
So specific. But they still connect with those bigger trends and interests.
Exactly.
Oh, they talked about that annotating books trend on hashtag BookTalk.
Yes.
That was a great example. Even if you don't read a lot, you can still appreciate those beautiful book pages.
So you don't always have to chase the mainstream trends. Sometimes those smaller communities are where it's at.
Absolutely. Especially if you're a brand. You want to see what's happening in your niche.
Right. Like if you're a plant company, you should be all over hashtag PlantTalk.
For sure. You have to understand your community and speak their language. And I think this all points to one big thing. Authenticity.
Totally. Authenticity is key.
And the algorithm seems to reward that too.
It does. When you're creating content that's genuinely relevant and engaging with your community, the algorithm picks up on that and gives you more visibility and reach.
So you're creating content your audience loves, and the algorithm is happy.
Win-win. And this leads perfectly into how to use those trends for growth.
Perfect. We'll dive into that in part 2.
Welcome back. We're diving deeper into those TikTok trends.
So we talked about how important it is to, stay on top of the trends, But they really emphasized how fast those trends change.
Oh, yeah. It's
At a
constant.
super fast pace.
Way faster than other platforms.
They said you really only have, a day or two
Yeah,
to jump on a trend.
pretty much.
That's kind of intimidating.
It is.
How can you even keep up?
It comes down to really being active on TikTok.
Yeah.
You got to scroll through that For You page every single day, multiple times a day if you can. And just pay attention to the sounds you keep hearing, the challenges you see popping up, anything that's getting traction.
So you're doing your own mini trend analysis all the time,
Like,
just observing what's happening.
and then when you see something that works for you, you can jump on it quickly.
Mm.
Don't forget to look at hashtags, too, and see what other creators in your niche are doing.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's a mix of like passive scrolling and then actively looking at hashtags and other creators.
Yep.
Okay, so let's say you've spotted a trend. How do you like make it your own? The SocialWick hosts were really big on that, adding your own twist.
Yeah, they said just copying what everyone else is doing won't get you very far. You got to put your own spin on it, or your brand's unique style,
Right, but how do you like balance that? Writing the trend, but also being unique.
Think of it as finding that sweet spot where the trend and your brand overlap.
Okay, I like that.
So let's say you're a fitness creator and the Glow Up 2024 challenge is happening. Instead of just doing a basic before and after, you could show the specific workout that got you there.
Ah, so you're still in the trend.
Yeah.
But you're also showing off your expertise.
Exactly. It's about owning that trend. Or like if you're a food blogger and there's that viral 90s music remix going around, you could create a recipe with like ingredients from the 90s.
Oh my gosh, yes, with the music playing.
Exactly. You're connecting the dots.
So good.
That's what makes you stand out.
Yeah.
The algorithm loves certain sounds and visuals, but it can't replace real creativity. When you make a trend your own, it's fresh, it's engaging, it's you.
I love that. Now, they also really emphasize engagement, like audience engagement.
Oh, for sure.
They were saying it's essential.
They said the algorithm really pays attention to that. Engagement shows the algorithm that your content is actually resonating. It's sparking conversations. And that's what TikTok is all about.
It's not just about views then.
Nope. You can't just post your video and forget about it. You have to interact, reply to comments, do duets with other creators. Even going live is great.
So you're like giving the algorithm proof that your content is worth showing to more people.
Yep.
You're building a community, not just chasing views.
Right. And those creators who really get that, who build those genuine connections, they're the ones who really succeed on TikTok. That authenticity goes a long way.
And it all comes back to being in tune with TikTok, understanding those trends.
Definitely. You got to be immersed in the platform.
Yeah.
See how it changes. Because it changes all the time.
Okay, so we're seeing the trends, we're engaging with our audience, all of this is happening. But how does it translate into actual growth? Like real results? How do you measure that?
You need a solid strategy. It's not enough to just post and hope for the best anymore.
Okay, I'm ready for that. What does a good TikTok strategy look like?
First things first, goals. You got to know what you want to achieve on TikTok.
Yeah.
Are you trying to get more followers, drive traffic to your website, something else?
Makes sense.
Once you know your goals, you got to figure out who your target audience is.
Right.
Who are you trying to reach? What do they care about?
You want to connect with them on a real level.
Exactly. And then, the most important thing, consistency. TikTok rewards creators who are always showing up, providing good content that their audience wants. You can't just post every now and then.
It's about building that trust over time.
Yep. You're building a relationship with your audience.
Yeah.
The more you show up, the stronger it gets.
You know, listening to all this, it makes me realize TikTok is more than just dances and funny videos.
Oh, for sure.
It can be a real business tool.
It is.
You can connect with your ideal customers, build a whole community.
If you understand the trends, create engaging content, and talk to your audience, the possibilities are endless. You might even go viral.
So it's a mix of creativity, strategy, and connection.
That's the recipe.
Okay, I think we're ready for part 3, where we'll get into some specific tactics. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping things up, talking about all things TikTok trends. Lots to learn from that SocialWick podcast.
We really have covered a lot of ground. Trends, speed, being authentic, engaging with your audience. So much goes into success on TikTok these days.
In part 2, we were talking about strategy, like having a solid TikTok strategy. Is there anything specific we can do to put all of that into practice? Any tools or techniques?
Absolutely. The SocialWick hosts talked about TikTok's Creator Center. They mentioned it briefly as a place to find those trending sounds, but it's so much more than that.
Oh yeah, they did mention that.
Yeah. It's full of analytics, demographics for your audience, even tips for creating better content.
Ooh, I like that.
Think of it as your free toolkit for figuring out how your videos are doing.
Yeah.
And how to make them even better.
A lot of creators don't even know about it.
Yeah, especially new creators. They don't realize how much data is right there for them.
So Creator Center, everyone should check that out.
For sure. Spend some time exploring it. It's worth it. Now, earlier we talked about those aesthetic edits, those really visually stunning videos. Any tips for actually creating those?
Yeah, how do you make those?
TikTok is all about short videos, right?
Yeah.
So first things first, keep your videos short and to the point.
Yeah, people's attention spans are, like, tiny.
So tiny, you got to grab them right away.
Exactly. What's going to make them stop scrolling? Maybe a cool visual, that trending sound we talked about? Ask a question. Whatever it is, you got to hook them in those first few seconds.
Totally.
And don't be afraid to use TikTok's editing tools. They're right there in the app.
Yeah, they're pretty good too.
They are. Experiment with transitions, text, speed adjustments. There's a lot you can do. Just play around with it.
Okay, I think some people might be wondering, does storytelling even work on TikTok? It's so short and visual.
Storytelling totally has a place on TikTok. You just have to adjust it a little bit. Like, instead of a big, long story, think about micro stories.
Micro stories, huh?
Yeah.
Like a haiku instead of a novel.
Exactly. You still need a beginning, middle, and end, but it's all super condensed. You can still evoke emotions, get your message across, tell a whole story with just visuals and sound. It's pretty cool.
That is cool. How do you make those micro stories work? Okay, so keep your message simple. Don't try to do too much in one video. And use the visuals and the sound to tell that story. Like, let's say you're telling a story about overcoming a challenge. Use an upbeat song and show your progress in the visuals.
Okay, so we keep coming back to this idea of authenticity. It seems like that's really important for TikTok success.
It is. It's easy to get caught up in the trends, the algorithm, all of that. But the most important thing is being yourself.
Yeah, so many people are scared to do that online.
I know. They're worried what other people will think. But at the end of the day, people want real connection. They want to see the real you.
Exactly. And TikTok is a place where you can connect with people who actually get you, who share your interests, your values.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And remember, we've only scratched the surface here. TikTok is always changing. New trends, new features all the time. You got to stay curious, keep experimenting, and most importantly, have fun.
That's great advice. Thanks so much for sharing your expertise. We've learned so much from you. And to all our listeners out there, get out there, make some TikToks, connect with people, and keep writing those trends.
Have fun.